Okay, great. Hello, everybody. I see one person kind of coming down. Hello. Let me give you just welcome to our community meeting. We're discussing the Agri-Hood project in the city of Santa Clara, right off of Winchester Boulevard, and we have a slideshow that we're going to kind of go through. There's a question and answer period after that. And so you can hold your questions until the end. I think that we have about a dozen slides or so, and I should be able to get through it in 10 or 15 minutes. So plenty of time to answer all your questions or listen to your comments that you have. Before I start, I'd like to introduce, to my left is Vince Cantori. Vince is the Senior Vice President with the core companies. They're the kind of, I'm going to say, master developer of this site that is known as Agri-Hood. Vince, do you want to talk a little bit about just your history with the company, or?
Yeah, sure, I can. So I've been with the company for close to 10 years. As Jim mentioned, I'm the Senior Vice President of the core companies. When I started at Core 10 years ago, this was my first project. So I've been with this project ever since, through the original entitlement effort, through the community engagement process, through the construction process, through the financing just prior to construction, to the conversion and permanent financing of the affordable project, and then ongoing with the operations of the senior project in the open space. So I think I have a pretty good perspective on the history of the site, on just the issues that have come up throughout the original entitlement effort, and then some of the questions and concerns that have come up with our current proposal. So I'm happy to speak with those tonight. And with that, as Jim mentioned, I'll be around to answer questions or any, respond to any comments that could come up. But we do have a presentation that we wanted to walk through, so if we could maybe start that process. And then go from there.
Yeah, and with that, before I also jump in, I would be remiss if I didn't say that this is a meeting that's put on by the core company, but we're working with the City of Santa Clara Planning Department and several of the planners, the project planner, Neha Patel. I have her contact information, is here along with Steve Lee and Leslie Xavier, all with the City of Santa Clara. Okay, Jackson, can we go to the first slide? Okay, so the agenda, this is kind of what we're going to talk about, the Agri-Hood background, the overview of the townhomes, the timeline, and then questions and answers. Go ahead. Vince Cantori, I've already introduced, and myself, Jim Sullivan. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm a local boy, grew up right across from Mitty High School, went off to do my college in the military thing, came back, actually lived in Santa Clara, right on Scott Monroe for about 4 years, or actually before Scott Monroe, I lived in the old Moonlight Lanes drive-in theater. So I have about 10 years of experience living in Santa Clara. I currently live in Campbell. Next slide. The core company, right? It's a firm that's been around for 35 years, delivering, multifamily, market rate, and affordable housing throughout the Bay Area. They're one of the very few companies that actually does for sale housing, but also, some of the below market rate housing. Those of you that are familiar with this site as it stands, the 165 units that were built that are primarily, I believe, very low and low income, veteran-based seniors, was done under CORE's guidance and leadership. Some of the projects that CORE has done, you can see Millbrae, 100% affordable apartments in San Jose, Tamian Station, 100% affordable. Willow Housing, that was in Menlo Park. Supportive housing for veterans. Next slide, if we have some. Bella Vita at New Perry Park, Spark in San Jose, Gateway Tower. So they've done everything within this 35 years, from don't think that you guys have done single family detached, but townhome development up to, I mean, you can see, multiple story, both on the sales side and rental side. A lot of affordable. Next slide, please. Okay, so Vince can go into more detail, but essentially about 10 years ago, the history is the site that's out there that you see kind of across from what used to be Valley Fair, now Westfield Mall, was owned by the state of California. And the city of Santa Clara acquired that site. You're going to correct me if I'm wrong, right? A portion of that was sold to Summerhill Homes and developed basically single-family detached residential homes. And about 5.8 acres was left. That was the front of the parcel. And the city wanted to do something, I'm going to say special. There were many, many community meetings of what that was going to be or potentially look like. And then the city went out to a process of interviewing particular development companies, and Core was ultimately selected, I think, in 2015.
That's right.
To essentially be the master developer of that site. And the site essentially originally was approved for the 165 low and very low income units, which is currently built, the 36 townhomes, which is kind of on the back portion of the site, which has been built, the farm along the front, along with the water tower, and I think kind of a working shed, if you will, and then the community area, which is where Academic Coffee is now located. And with that, the Paseo actually going from Worthington out to Winchester has been completed. The only thing left is the 1.7 acre vacant site that currently has kind of the green screen chain link fence around it. That had been approved back in 2019 when the entire project was approved for 160 rental apartment units. And they were going to be primarily, I think 90% were studio and 1 bedroom. I think there were 22 bedroom apartment units. And I believe that it was going to be 6 stories in height. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a picture actually of looking down. The vacant parcel would be right to the left of this photograph. But you can see kind of the farm, the water tower, the work shed, and this is kind of standing on the Paseo, looking to the north towards Worthington. Next slide, please. Okay, so phase 1 completed in 2023. That was the 165 affordable units I talked about. Opened the 1.5 acres of open space, obviously urban farm. There's, I believe, we made a presentation a week or so ago, or Vince did, at the Corey Neighborhood Association. I don't know if any members are here tonight, but there's like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's open for people to come and help out. And then also either buy or receive gratis produce from this farm. And then obviously creating a community gathering space, coffee events. I've been to several. I know that Core wanted to have, I wanted to say it was like 52 events a year. I mean, so there's, music, in the park type things. They've done food trucks. They've done other things basically, and they're actively working on continuing to do this. Basically, in order to, what would you say, add a spark to this, kind of beautiful area. Next slide, please. Okay, so the empty lot that I talked about, 1.7 acres. So obviously, I want to say that in 2019, when the project was approved, Core fully intended to build out what was approved. Since that time, I mean, there was a global pandemic as we're aware. Interest rates have risen dramatically. They're starting to inch down a little bit now. And then just higher operating and construction costs. So all of that has really kind of wreaked havoc on Core's ability to build what had been approved in 2019. So with that, about 8 or 9 months ago, actually, one of the owners or principals of the company is here also in the audience. He and I were at a city event called the Urban Land Institute. It was a ULI, and they did it was kind of experts in the industry. It was at the convention center, the council was there, the commission was there, and I think that was broadcast, to the city of Santa Clara. And it was essentially regional wide, the very difficult ability to build high density housing and have it be financially feasible. And knowing that there is still a need for home ownership, particularly first-time homeowners, which means, kind of less than that $2 million range that it seems that most houses are going for. And it's what we refer to as the missing middle. And it's a middle kind of density range, which is more of the 20 units to the acre, versus the higher density range, which is 40, 50 units to the acre. And then what most of the people in Santa Clara were generally used to, which was single family detached homes on a 6,000 square foot lot. So we talked amongst ourselves, and we decided that we would look at amending what was originally approved, to changing the 160 apartment units to 44 for sale townhomes. And so we have an application in with the city of Santa Clara to do just that. Next slide, please. These are just some, I don't know how many of you still read the newspaper. I'm kind of a paper guy. I know a lot of stuff is online, but there's, scores of, things that you see in the paper all the time of sites that were either previously approved for high density and actually they're just not being built because it's ineffective or infeasible to do so. Or in the worst case situations, they're being foreclosed upon. But apartments are typically selling for sometimes half the cost of what they were once appraised for. So these were just some of the headlines recently that we get kind of pulled up. The next slide, please. Okay, so the path to complete agribuild. This is really the last piece of the puzzle, if you will, that is yet to be built. We believe that it would help activate, the coffee shop, the farm, much more, offering the new pathways to home ownership. And basically this last point, ensuring the public open space programming is sustained for the years to come. So one of the things, in order to continue, I'll say, the viability of the parkland, it is being funded necessarily by the low-income apartment units, the 165, the 36 already built townhouse units, and then this future vacant parcel, essentially part of their homeowners association dues goes towards the funding, the ongoing perpetual funding of the open space that we all enjoy. Next slide, please. So this is just kind of an overview, and I have a pointer. They might not be able to, oh, it's not going to show up on the screen. But kind of going from left to right, you can see the water tower and the work shed, the rows of where the produce is. We have kind of what you would call like, a portico or a gazebo, a closed roof over an area where that's where the musicians would set up occasionally. All the way towards the back is where the academic coffee has opened for about a year now, or just short of a year. It's had a very successful opening. The existing senior housing, you can see kind of in the background. And then the existing townhomes to the right. There's 36 of them. And so what our proposal would be to add 5 new buildings to replace, which would total the 44 townhouse units, which would replace the 160 apartment units. And by the way, the townhouse units, which we've submitted to the city, are essentially are very similar to the ones that had previously been approved and built, the 36. Next slide, please. I'll take the questions right at the end. So this is just kind of a bird's eye view. You can see where Worthington Circle is up on top or to the north. Winchester Boulevard is to the right off of the screen. What's called the Commons, that's that large kind of walkway, if you will. One of the things that this also does is basically provides another entry point from Worthington Circle, an emergency entry point to the Commons. There would be 3 pneumatic bollards at the end of this drive aisle, so it's not open to public driving accessibility, but it is open for police and fire. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is kind of a project comparison. You can see in the slightly kind of gray is what our proposed plan is versus the previous plan. So the height, obviously, of the townhomes is considerably less than what the apartment unit was going to be, 65 feet versus 45 feet. The number of buildings under the previous plan was kind of 1 large building, where we have 5 smaller buildings. The total number of homes, there's a 116 unit decrease from what we're doing. But you can see the bedroom count is, the bedroom count of what was proposed was 181 units. With basically 3-bedroom townhomes, we're at 132, so it's only a 49 bedroom count decrease. The BMR homes, BMR stands for below market rate. Under the previous plan, 10% or 16 of the apartment units would be at a moderate rental limit. Under our proposed plan, 15% of our houses or 6 units would be at a moderate sales price. And by the way, the developer is not the one that selects who's going to live there. We work with the city of Santa Clara's housing department, and they have kind of their own scoring and prioritization type problem. If you actually add up the BMR bedrooms, right, we'll have slightly more bedrooms in units that would be affordable. The building coverage, I added this because the 1 large building actually had a coverage of about just under 59% of the site. With the townhome products, we're at about 38% building coverage. Estimating first units available, it can be, and again, this is just an estimate. It can be as early as spring or summer of 2027 under a townhome scenario. But with the 160 apartment unit complex, it's just, again, financially infeasible for us to move forward, and therefore it would remain vacant. Project financing, again, not feasible, but with an approval for townhomes, we would be ready to break ground. Next slide, please. Okay, so some milestones. This I think, kind of touched upon. Core being selected in 2015, development plans being approved. 2019. Construction began again on the overall site improvements in 2021, and the senior 165 unit opened in 2023. Next slide, please. So this is a tentative project timeline. This is assuming, so we had submitted a revised plan set to the city in June of this year. We're having our, one of our community open house meetings tonight. We're hopeful that we can get to planning commission city council hearings in early 2026. Would be in January sometime. Assuming that we were approved at that point, we then have to go through what I'm going to call design documents. So, one of the things that we're showing to the city are kind of floor plans, elevations, some preliminary engineering work. There's a lot more work to be done. Building permits, you have to do working drawings for the plans. And so that would take probably 6 months. So we would think that potentially in late summer 2026, all of that could begin, and construction could begin as early as, say, this time next year, which would make the first units available. This kind of product, I should also point out that when you're building townhomes, it's typically maybe 7 to 9 months from when you start to have your buildings complete. With a 5 or 6 story apartment project, it could be 2 to 2.5 years. So considerably less time bringing the property or the product to the market. Next slide, please. The event portfolio. So these are just some of the things I mentioned. The weekly volunteer and farm stand every Tuesday and Thursday. 9 to 10 to volunteer, and I think from 10 to 12 on Thursday is when you can get produce. Music in the plaza right now, second and fourth Saturday of every month during the fall. It's 1 to 3. Hash and Dash pop-ups every Thursday by Academic Coffee, and other cool events that kind of come up now and again. Next slide, please. Okay, how you can stay involved. So this project has had a website, and it's kind of up there, agrihood-sc.com, Instagram at agrihood.sc, talking about going out to the different events, providing written or public comment at the upcoming public hearings. I mentioned this is a project that would have to go both to the Planning Commission and City Council. And then staying tuned for more information about future community meetings. We do plan on having a meeting out at the site as well, probably between now and the end of the year. For sure before the Planning Commission hearing. Next slide, please. This is, I mentioned, Meha. I'm not sure if that's a misspell of your name, Meha, if there's a C. Okay, good. Anyway, and a QR code to the City of Santa Clara's project website. So, and that you can basically go online to the City of Santa Clara's website, and they have all, kind of proposed projects, a proposed project page that you can scroll down to get all of the information. Meha is also available if, again, you don't want to discuss something or express a concern with either, Vince or myself or our team. You're very welcome to discuss with Meha. Next slide, please. Okay, so, and it says questions, but I'm also available to take comments. I'm going to start with you, but just to let you know, when you ask me a question or give a comment, I will repeat it to make sure that the people online hear. And we also have people online that will be making comments too that I'll take. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. My name is Akshay Hamid. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Santa Clara. And in terms of the last slide, in terms of how you can learn more about the project, you can also subscribe on the city's website and put your email and your name in, and you will get updates on upcoming projects from staff when there's an update.
Great. Could you hear that online or
Not.
going to the city, where on the city's website would they sign up? Sean?
Under events, calendar events.
Okay, so under calendar events on the city's website, you can put your name down and essentially be apprised of any upcoming projects in the city of Santa Clara.
You can subscribe.
Or you can subscribe. And it's for $0.0. You're not trying to charge people $2 a month or anything like that. Not one of those subscriptions. Thank you very much for providing that. Yes, sir.
It just in full disclosure, I was on the planning commission when this project originally came in front of us. No longer on it, but I'm glad to see it's moving forward. I'm very happy to see townhomes on the site because I understand what you're saying about the foreclosures and the construction costs that are up, and I see it. But I would like to know the I guess the breakdown of the townhomes, how many are like studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom?
Yeah, so the townhomes of what we're proposing, everything will be a 3-bedroom townhome. But what had been approved, when I mentioned studio and 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms, that was for what was previously approved. So of the 160 units, I forgot the exact breakdown, but say 70 studio units, 71 bedroom units, or 69 1-bedroom units, and I believe 21 2-bedroom units.
On the 3-bedroom units, are any of them gonna have at least one downstairs bedroom for like seniors?
Yeah, that's, we'll look into that and let me get back to you. I know it's always preferable to do.
A certain percentage would be nice. That way, families with extended families would have somebody for their elderly parents.
Understood. And yeah, and when we have the possibility to fit a downstairs living unit, we do so because there's a marketing need for that. I just know that all of our units also have a 2-car enclosed garage. And so, making it fit sometimes can be difficult. But if you wait until after the meeting, I'll take your name and I'll get that information to you.
But everything else I really like. It looks good.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yes,
Just a comment too. I think the work that you did is beautiful. And I think moving forward, I like the smaller units, the townhomes. I would like something like that. I'd love to buy something like that.
thank you. Yeah, it is kind of I mentioned the missing middle, and I sat on a panel about a month ago. And it's really something, it's number one, it's feasible to build now. And we do see that there's a need for that. Yes, sir.
Townhomes you're proposing, what price will they be?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I have not been repeating the questions, so I have to do that for our online audience. The question is, what would the prices be for these townhomes? So obviously, everything is based on, the developer is going to sell for what the market will bear, right? And I believe in this location, they're probably in the low to mid $1 million price range. So probably, like 1.3 to maybe, 1.5 or 1.6. That's what would be hopeful. When interest rates come down, actually the price or value of houses, tends to kind of go up. So if interest rates were to go higher, right, actually now we have to lower the price. But I will say that when I talked about the below market rate units, which we will be providing on this site, they're at the 100% of county median income. And it's all determined by, the county every year has a median income. And these units would probably sell for, I'm going to estimate about $600,000 to $700,000, so about half of what the market rate value would be. And they're deed restricted for a period of, I believe, 55 years with the city. Again, the city oversees that process. But did that answer your question? You know, I mean, you know, in today's market, we would think somewhere, you know, $1.25 million to $1.5 million, or $1.6 million. I'm sorry, your three hands went up together, so. let me pick a
Are
turn.
these luxury
Well, at that price, they should be, right?
Well, I know
Certainly.
there's some towns being built on the other side of Chester, I think like the 3 million.
Yeah, these will not go for 3 million. I mean, just the size and the bedroom count of these, you know, I see more in that, you know, low to mid $1 million price range. But I will say that these townhomes, the market rate townhomes, will all be electric. There will be no gas, and we do that because of the greenhouse gas emissions issue that have kind of popped up. They will have all, you know, basically energy saving appliances. State of the art, you know, low flow showers, low flow toilets. We're required to do a lot of this stuff, not just by the state, but also by the city of Santa Clara. And, but they will be well appointed homes. But I do not see them in the $3 million price range.
Can we take a question online? Jim, is that okay, or?
Yeah, okay, so, and then I'm gonna go to this gentleman and then this gentleman.
This might be for you, Vince. Can you explain a little bit how the food truck and the coffee shop currently benefit the Agri-Hood senior residents in that apartment building?
Sure. Yeah, so the cafe Academic Coffee, as Jim mentioned, it opened up a little over a year ago. And it's just, you know, it's a nice kind of gathering place for the community, whether you're, you know, living kind of in a neighborhood adjacent to the site, or whether you're a senior living in the senior building or one of the townhome residents at the site. So it's a nice place to grab a cup of coffee, read the paper, connect with your family and friends. It's been nice, you know, especially during the warmer months of summer, see the tables and umbrellas out, activating the commons area. It just creates a really nice feel. And I'm sorry, the other question, there's cafe and then.
And
How does it benefit the senior center?
How does it benefit the seniors? Well, again, you know, we've curated a community that is right on the front door of the senior building. It's right on the front door of the townhomes. It will be right on the front door of the new townhome project. So I think having that curated community experience with the cafe, or whether it's with the existing farm that's growing farm fresh, farm to table produce, that is all a benefit to the community at large, as well as the residents of the senior building.
And if you haven't tried the banana matcha coffee there, it's to die for. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Zach. I represent existing 36 homes. I'm the president of the board. I have a few questions, so it's bear with me.
Yeah.
So first, when we pay a annual fee or HOA to the master association, I believe $36,000 plus a CPI of every year. I guess that money goes to the farm and the common road, those kind of things. With the addition of this 44 townhomes, right? How do we ensure we pay a fair and equal amount to the?
Yeah, Jim, I can answer this.
Okay.
So I appreciate the question. So the way,
Wait, can I just repeat just
Yeah,
for
please.
our audience? So the question was, the gentleman is the president of the Anza HOA. And I talked to Tricia Fryer, I had reached out to her before to kind of talk to your board about, you know, whatever it was back in June or July. They are paying a portion of their HOA dues goes towards the betterment, I think what I talked to, of the Agri-Hood open space site. And how do they know that that's not going to be affected by what happens on this site?
yeah, so great question. Appreciate the question. When we were setting up the master association, it was very intentional that the townhomes would pay a fixed fee that would adjust maybe with cost of living, but wouldn't expose the townhomes to, you know, higher increases than that. So in terms of kind of the other metrics and the financing of the open space, there's much larger contributions coming from the senior project and a much larger contribution that's coming from the mixed income parcel. There's also the rent that the cafe pays that's reinvested into the maintenance and operations of the open space and farm. So I don't know if that answers your question, but the intent would be to not have all of a sudden the ANZA HOA dues increase as a result of fewer units being developed on the new site.
It would not happen. So legally, you are protected from, you are locked in at your thing. It doesn't matter if 160 units were built here or 500 units were built here or 2 units were built here. It's not going to change your obligation.
Well, my question is a bit the opposite. Is it gonna be, because a lot of this cost is fixed, right? But it's being shared by more households. So I expect, every household will pay to decrease.
Yeah, so it doesn't work that way. What's currently happening is this vacant parcel is paying their pro rata share, even though there's no units there. So the master schedule that what Vince was talking about essentially assumes full build out. This is going to be, your share is on a percentage basis, it's 15%. The senior center on a percentage basis is 50%. And the vacant parcel, which are contributing as well, is the remaining 35%.
Yeah, I just understand. Let's say I pay $100 per month, right, per household. And if the new household owner pay $50 per month. That's not.
That money, the money's being paid right now, even though it's vacant.
Yeah, how much on average they pay if we divided the number by 40?
They're paying approximately 35% of the overall. There's just short of $200,000 a year goes for the maintenance of the Agri-Hood open space facility. You guys are paying, 36,000, which is about 15%.
Yeah, okay, I guess maybe I will submit this question to the public hearing to make it more formal.
Okay.
I think what we need is more visibility to the board because we pay the budget. We're not on the master association's board. We have no visibility how this money is spent, right? All the numbers we just mentioned are brand new to us. Right?
Okay.
We have zero visibility on that. I just want to make sure we got enough information to ensure we pay a fair amount.
Yeah.
To the community.
Yeah.
That is our ask.
Yeah, and I would be happy, I think I had mentioned to Tricia before, but and I had the board meeting, I think that you were part of it. And there was only a couple of members, but I would love to come before your board with more information. If you guys would be open to that.
Yeah, maybe a follow-up question is, I just actually sent this question via email to Vince. Actually, multiple emails. I didn't get any response. So I wonder what is the most effective communication channels we should have between the master association and the town hall association.
Well, so I'll just say, I'm not aware of it, but after the meeting, I'll give you my business card. And again, I would be happy to bring the information and make a presentation in front of your board.
Okay, thank you. And bear with me, the last question is actually from our other homeowners to ask me to ask this question. So the parking situation has not been very pleasant. I think primarily because of the senior homes. They did not have enough planned parking space. So the majority of street parking are occupied by their car. That's the fact. And of course, there are other issues. So what are we gonna do to ensure the parking situation will not get worse with the new development?
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing that I would say is I think that there would be less parking for 44 townhomes than there would be for 160 apartments.
Totally agree with it. Actually, overall, we are fully supportive of this proposal.
Thank you.
But we just want to make sure we properly go through the per household parking space and plan the roads.
Yeah,
Parking and coming, the traffic does not get worse.
understood. Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it. And we look forward to, again, I'll give you my business card and we'll set up a meeting with the board. Yes, sir.
My comment was because I'm new to the area and because I'm physically challenged as I came. I had to find a place with 1 bedroom downstairs. And it was pain in the butt in this city. Because my wife decided to become a businesswoman in the city, so we have to move to the city. And so if they can somehow figure out, make some the unit like this gentleman was saying.
And the parking.
With at least one bedroom downstairs.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I'm renting a 4-bedroom house, but if I didn't have that one bedroom, I couldn't stay there.
understood. Yeah. Do we have another question online? Yes, sir.
Every project is different, every developer does things differently, every city that folks develop in is different. Santa Clara has a reputation for being a good place to develop. Core Companies is moving forward with other developments, like you showed on the slides. Why is it this project particularly hard to do in these conditions? Because other developers are building in our communities right now.
Yeah,
I can.
okay, I'm gonna let Vince answer this because it's very, particular, obviously, to core.
Yeah, so thanks.
Oh,
for
I'm sorry, the question really was, why is, kind of core pivoting and other developers are building, higher density, I think that you mean, in different cities. So, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Alex, thank you very much. I appreciate the question. So it's not as if we've been sitting on our hands for the last 5 years, not doing anything and just always thinking about townhomes as the potential, last piece of the puzzle to complete the project. If anything, I was committed to the vision that got approved in 2019. And so quite frankly, as I'm sure it is to some folks in this room, it's a disappointment that we've had to pivot and go with a lower density project. I feel that same way. But since that time, we've had to deal with, as Jim mentioned, a pandemic that got in the way and disrupted everything. In terms of density and what the core companies is comfortable with, as Jim mentioned, we've been in business for 35 years. We're one of the few developers in this area that is somewhat ambidextrous. We can do market rate housing, we can do affordable housing, we can do density, we can do high density, we can do low density. As evidenced by the Gateway Tower project that we're pursuing in downtown San Jose. That's a 15-story, 200+ unit project, right? In downtown, high rise. I just finished the Tamian project at Tamian Station, 6-story project, 135 units. Much denser than what's being proposed on this site right now, right? What I can tell you is when we've looked at this from a variety of different angles to try and make it work. We've looked at this as an assisted living facility. The site is a potential candidate for an assisted living facility. Obviously, we've looked at it to build out the 160 units that was approved back in 2019. We've also looked at it as a potentially new affordable project, not the same affordable project that we developed with 165 units. But this site is not a great site for density. And I know that's a controversial statement for some folks in the audience. It's not a great site for density. We've looked at it from a market rate standpoint. It doesn't offer the return that institutional investors are looking for. And it's not going to be offering that for a long time to come. If you look at it as an assisted living facility, you got Belmont living right down the street on Winchester. We're too close. Any assisted living facility developer just has proximity concerns about being located next to something that's right down the street. As an affordable project, one of the key metrics that we look for when we're scouting affordable housing sites is whether it's in a QCT or a DDA. So QCT, qualified census tract, DDA, difficult to develop area. This site does not have those designations. Measure A money, which helped fund the senior project to the tune of $23.5 million. All of that money has been committed. There's no new Measure A money to fund new projects. The city of Santa Clara, not yet, hopefully at some point in the future. The city of Santa Clara doesn't have funding to help finance an affordable housing project. If you're pursuing money through the state, through HCD, say you want to try and finance it with ASIC, which is a fantastic program that pairs affordable housing projects with public infrastructure projects that have a greenhouse gas reducing effect. This site doesn't compete well for it. You think it would. You look at the site, it's right across from Valley Fair, it's right across from Santana Row. But from a ridership standpoint, it doesn't compete as well as sites located in San Francisco or Oakland or other parts of the Bay Area. So it's a very challenging site in this environment to develop density. And that is, like I said, it is somewhat of a disappointment to me, to the core companies, because that's not the vision of what we got approved in 2019. But that being said, we also can't hold the site indefinitely. There is an economic reality. We need to complete the project. So I don't think this is an argument about density or lower density. I mean, some might make that argument, and that's fine. This is about completing the project. This is about completing the final piece of the puzzle, which is aggregate. We've delivered 3 out of the 4 components for this project, and I am incredibly proud of what we've delivered. The farm, the cafe, the senior project, the permanent supportive housing component, the opportunities for first-time homebuyers in the ANZA project, incredibly proud of all of that. But this is where we're at. This is the reality of what we're dealing with. So to dismiss it and just say, well, you know, core needs to develop at this density, otherwise it's not viable. I would kind of throw it back and I would challenge the folks that are concerned about density. Why are you so concerned about density? I think that's a fair question for a developer to ask the community. And so that being said, I hope that answers your question.
Just one quick little add-on to that. So I did kind of run the calculations. I mentioned that the site was 5.8 acres. About 1.5 acres is open space, but if you just take the 5.8 acres and look at the number of units that were originally approved, you were about 62 units per acre. That's a dense project. With the proposed change, the loss of 116 units, housing units, you're still at 42 units per acre, and everything has been built except for this vacant parcel. So even if the 44 units was to go forward, you would be at 42 units per acre, which I have to tell you, in this particular location, is a fairly dense density. Okay, with that, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Kathy Watanabe, I was actually on the city council when the project was approved in 2019, and we were so excited and really enjoyed working with Vince and the whole core company, getting the project across the finish line. I'm glad, Vince, that you talked about the Measure A funding, because I did want to ask about that money, because remember that was key to getting senior housing, and wanted to know if there was anything left over that could be used to help build, the units that are that did not get built. And then another question that I had, one of the music in the park, I think that was one of the conditions of approval, to have something every week, if I remember correctly. But lastly, I just wanted to ask, if like in Tasman East, for instance, there are some affordable projects where they've come about as a result of combined financing through different groups. Have you explored anything like that as a way to try and keep the project as it was originally approved?
Good question. So in terms of combined financing, it's a little bit challenging for how the financial architecture was put in place for the aggregate site. So if you can imagine, and thank you very much, Kathy, for your question. But if you can imagine, the different components of the aggregate project were all financed independently of one another. We had in 2021, we had 4 simultaneous closings, all financed independently. So there really wasn't an option to kind of commingle funding or help kind of allocate additional funding to the mixed income site. That's not quite how it worked. So I can't speak to what might be the experience with Tasman East, but I can only tell you that's not how the financing was structured for aggregate.
You have a couple questions online if you want.
Yeah, let me just take this lady right back here first, and then I'll go online. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a quick question about the timeline for the project. Couldn't quite see it from back
Can you
here.
pull that back up, please?
So it seemed like it could be built pretty quick. Is there any way that it could be built quicker?
Yes. So, I mean, it's basically assuming that there's an approval that's granted by the Plan Commission, the City Council. It really depends on the developer. So I mentioned like an 8-unit townhome complex from start to finish can be done in as early as 7 months, right, from start to finish. And really, most developers, I would say, with 5 buildings on the site would probably start 2 buildings right away, because one is going to be where the model homes will be. And then the other one will be, kind of slightly behind it, and then they'll wait a month or 2 months and start the remaining 3 buildings. So total build out, from the very first unit to the very last unit could be, 9-10 months, kind of from start to finish, but yeah, it's as fast as, it will go quickly, assuming that we can achieve city council approval. Alex, I'm gonna take, a couple of calls,
Okay, from Teresa, I believe here, does changing the nature of the housing being built have any impact on the commitments made when the land was sold by the state to the city of Santa Clara for this project? I was involved in piecing together the various funding sources, and there was an expectation at the time of the land sale and development agreement for the larger number of housing units.
Great question. I can answer that. Everybody heard the question, I assume? So the only stipulation in my mind that comes into play from Teresa's question is that the overall unit count, if you looked at the unit count, at least 50% of the units need to be deed restricted and affordable. That was one of the primary stipulations in the state documents with the city. So by dropping the unit count, we're now in excess of what would be required by the state. So there is no issue with the state, with stipulations or anything like that. Thank you.
And then one other question, would building condos or for sale flats instead of rental apartments change the availability of financing? Many people would like to have a unit they own that is on one level.
Great question. Do you want to answer that or?
Yeah, so I've been in this industry for about 35 years now. I don't want to date myself. I'll say I started when I was 7. But the condominiums, and I lived in a condominium again right behind where the old Moonlight drive-in theater was. Condominiums are the first to lose value, and they're the last to increase in value. So from a financing perspective, it is, I would say it is riskier than apartments, quite frankly. One of the things that happens, and I'm not sure if the same thing is in rental, is because it's one big building, you are building the entire structure. I mentioned that, a 2 to 2.5 year kind of build out frame before you can sell or rent your first unit. And so it's not only a tremendous, kind of cost up front with townhomes, as you're completing buildings, you're selling units. But you have this long stretch of time with a tremendous amount of money going into it before you get your first dollar back. I don't know if you guys remember where the saddle rack used to be in San Jose, but that project originally was approved. And it was a humongous building. It was going to be like 600 units. And a developer came in and said, hey, we like this area and we want to do it, but we can't do it like this. We have to break it down into 6 100-unit buildings. Otherwise, the project wouldn't work financially. So I don't see, I love condos as a less expensive method, but from a development standpoint, very risky financially. Alex, you had another question?
Someone else hasn't on yet?
I don't see any hands, so go ahead and just dump that.
Maybe you can help me direct this to the right, perhaps city staffer. But not only do y'all have a development agreement with conditions of approval with the city, this is city-owned land. So what is the city's requirements or agreement? And how does that work with the city owning the land?
Sorry, I can take this.
Okay, the question was, city-owned land and the city's involvement up front. What is their involvement and their say with regard to our proposal?
Yeah, so the city doesn't own the land under the market rate apartment parcel that we're talking about tonight. It's for the 44 townhomes. And then I'm sorry, the second part of your
They
question.
sold that to court?
That's right, and that's one of the unique aspects of the financial architecture that I was referring to. So in addition to the Measure A money that helped fund the senior project, there was also the sale price or the residual value, so to speak, that came off the sale of the market rate parcels. Those proceeds were then reinvested to support the project. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but that was one of the unique aspects of the financial architecture of the deal.
But I think, Alex, for the ownership of of the original 5.8 acres, as I had mentioned, the city owned all of that, right? They had acquired, ownership from the state. They sold the Summerhill parcel earlier on. I forgot how many years before this, right? That was built, sold. And then the 5.8 acres is what was left. And it's my understanding that after the senior center was built, they have ownership of that land, maybe.
That's right.
And then I'm not sure about I know that the 36 market rate units that have been built, part of the ANZA HOA, were privately owned by Core, who then sold to the individual homeowners, right? So this gentleman and his association, they own their units. And this last remaining parcel is under the ownership of Core.
Whereas the cafe and the senior apartment is owned by the city.
The cafe and the farm and the open space is held by the association.
The master association, so there's a master association, which is, this gentleman was asking for, the money that goes into basically keeping the farm operations open.
So the city owns none of the land anymore.
The city owns the land under the senior building.
Under the senior building, the 165 units already built and occupied. Any other questions? We're coming towards an end. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to wait to the end. First, I'm gonna say, it won't be a surprise that I don't support this design and disappointed that Core filed frankly a petition or application for this without telling the public anything until like a few weeks ago. So just from a transparency perspective, this site has 20+ years of transparency on it. So I just think that's a disservice to the community. It didn't make me feel good about the process. So under that kind of negative cloud, I again still don't support the townhome design. A couple things I do want to make a comment on that Vince you talked about, and I appreciate you sharing all the details and yeah, you too.
Jim,
Sorry, Jim.
no problem.
A lot of good information. One thing I wanted to ask about is the assisted living. We're aging at about, I think, 12,000 65-year-olds a day and have been for the last 10, 15 years. And so the number of assisted living places is never an issue in the sense that it's always needed, especially in a competitive area with a lot of shopping and a lot of activity, especially with the agri-hood is something as inviting and designed around seniors and future, kind of latter part of life. Would be an ideal place for an assisted living place. In Belmont Village you talked about, it's about 14,000 a month per person. So from a numbers perspective, if you're worried about making your money back, that might be a nice one to at least investigate without dismissing it as something that is too close to an existing place. The second thing I wanted to ask about and challenge, frankly, is you said this is a good spot for density, yet literally a half a mile away on Saratoga, one is completed, another one on Stevens Creek, another one on Winchester, all over 6 stories, 6, 7 stories. Another one was proposed right down the street that didn't go forward. They were ready to go 15 stories on a site a lot smaller and a lot more challenging from amenities. Moonlight just is, they're applying for a 6-story. So to hear that that type of product isn't feasible, I just don't understand how you expect the public to appreciate that or agree with that, seeing that everybody or a number of these things have just happened or are happening now. And I'll just rattle off a bunch of things, and then I'm not asking for a dialogue, I'm just sharing some opinion as well. The open space elements, you mentioned 1.5 acres of open space. A portion of that open space was part of the market rate building. And some of the amenities that were part of this project never got built and were supposed to be part of that market rate building, or in essence could be part. And I will speak specifically about a community kitchen. One that would be available to the public to create activities on site. There's also the intention of having more ground floor access to the public. With townhomes, all of that goes away. The expansion of the public space goes away, the actual activations that are missing right now go away, because if you look, the commons and right up to that, that green line cuts that space fairly substantially. So I don't know how much of that market rate building property was part of the open space calculation, but it's a percentage of it. And I'm not gonna try and quote it off the top of my head, but it's not as big as the designs originally intended because it's fenced off now. And over the last 2 years, that has been fenced off, unused, not by the choice of the public, but because of you guys. You guys could have opened that up, you guys could have activated that space while it's being considered. You could have had food truck pop-ups, you could have extra gardening events, whatever. But you chose to fence it off. So to say it's not activated, that is a choice that you guys made to not activate. So I would just push back. This project was designed with being progressive and visionary and pushing the envelope. And to back off into a townhome design, which I'm sure we've heard people here support, especially people that live there, I'm sure don't want more density around them. But that's not this project. This project was designed with that. And to back off of that isn't fair to the community that pushed this forward with you and to help get this project move forward. So those are my.
Thank you for sharing your comments. And just really quickly, I just want to say, just from my aspect, that when the core company asked me to kind of help through this process, I did reach out to, what I'm going to say is our closest neighbors, which was, the Anza HOA and then the Summerhill HOA kind of behind you. And those were the people that I thought that were most effective. But, shame on me for not, I know that you sound like you've been very involved. Yeah.
Most of this community isn't part of it.
So, are there any last questions or comments well, one thing I just want to say before we wrap up is if you are, yes, ma'am, another question.
I just have a comment for the group. I'm the farmer at the agrihood there at Fort. And I did bring lemongrass and flowers and herbs and kumquats to share with you tonight to take home. And so they're in the back, and I'm happy to talk about what we do with the farm.
Great. I'm gonna grab some lemongrass because my wife loves it. But just if you sign up your name and any like either a phone number or your email address, I will make sure that you are notified at the next community meeting that we have. And with that, yeah, I'm sorry, wait, hold on. 2 more?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of them was about, you're talking about, when is the next meeting?
Yeah, so we don't have a date, but let the people online know that if they want to either go on the Agrihood website, or they want to respond to me or Vince directly or our team, I will ensure that they're notified when the next meeting is.
Then last question is, again, around parking. Can you comment on the additional traffic and available parking for Worthington Circle? Would appreciate more than 4 allocated parking spots within the proposal.
Yeah, so that's going to be a comment. Right now, we are showing every unit would have an attached 2-car garage, similar to Anza. And I believe we have 3 or 4 guest parking spaces available. But based on some of the comments I've heard, I will look to see if that can be improved upon.
The question is my answer about the parking. So I assume there's gonna be 2 park spaces per unit. Is there gonna be room to park in front of the unit?
No. They're the short apron, kind of a rear entry into the unit, typical of most townhomes. Alex?
Just quickly. I know Vince and core companies is aware about and cares very deeply about solving the housing crisis and getting as many homes as possible on a site like this. Can you educate us a little bit about the cost that you carry to have this land sit vacant? Because if we don't turn our economic conditions around in this valley and be able to build more than townhomes, we're freaking doomed when it comes to solving the housing crisis.
Yeah.
And once something gets built, that's 50 to 100-year decision right there.
Yeah.
So we got to do stuff higher density than townhomes, particularly on major streets like Winchester. So what are the costs involved in just waiting until interest rates improve, conditions improve, so that we can get higher density
Yeah,
projects?
Alex, did you sign up by any chance for, or does Vince have your contact information?
He does, I don't know if I signed up.
Okay, but, yeah, I kind of want to, can we address that maybe at the next community meeting if you're going to be there? Just because we're kind of running late and did I see somebody else's hand up? Oh, I'm sorry, everybody, this is Chris Neal. He is principal and co-owner of Core Development.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It's actually taking great pride seeing people, former council members who are involved, county commissioners, lots of community members. Kirk, I'm happy for a phone call, reach out to me anytime. We've been proud stewards of this project, and that's just what we are, stewards for the last 11 years. And as Vince says, yeah, we're disappointed that we're not able to bring the whole project to completion. We're not afraid of density. In downtown San Jose, I think that's 400 dwelling units to the acre. We've done 200 dwelling units to the acre. We have done single family homes. So we're very proud about being part of the housing solution for the valley at all different types. I think our key has been, we've been in this valley and it ebbs and flows with different economic cycles. And so we've provided different types of housing at different types of the cycle that the cycle permits. And I think what happened for us is we have talked to independent senior living. We have talked to assisted senior living. We've talked to all sorts of different financing sources. What came together for me was at the meeting at the beginning of the year, the ULI meeting. I think it was put together either by the city council, I'm not sure. But it really reiterated that, high density multifamily is just not penciling in the valley right now. And so that's part of the challenge, right? There are lots of different projects. You could point to one-offs that start, but we don't have a healthy ecosystem to get more and more multifamily housing built. And so this is really about trying to complete this, while we're the steward, complete the process, complete phase 4. It's not the type of housing we all aspire to at the beginning, but I think this housing type is needed in this community, in the greater community, right? School districts are suffering from enrollment. This can help provide more children to school districts, right? If it sits vacant, it's not contributing much at all to the assessor's roll. Built out, it's going to contribute approaching $1 million to the assessor's roll. So, we didn't arrive at this lately. We are equally disappointed, but we do think this is the best solution at this time right now. I think we're still suffering and coming through from COVID. This allows us to complete the aggregate project, complete the community. And I feel very proud. We delivered the vast majority of the community benefits that we talked about at the beginning. We spent a lot of time, is it 10 by 10? What's that? The planning process, Kirk, that we went through?
Power of 10.
Power of 10, right? So we're very proud of what we've delivered. We're disappointed that we're not going forward with a higher density. We are fans of density, but we are proud of what we're putting forth in front of you tonight, what we try to carry forward, because we think it completes the story, completes the community, and will enable our group as a community to thrive for the next 1,500 years. So thank you very much.